of the new live streams. As always, I am amazingly well prepared. Not really. I was watching the tennis at Wimbledon. That's my excuse. Well, by the time I got in from work, anyway. So, let's finish setting myself up. I just poured some painting water out. As you can see on the painting table today, we have some, what are they? They are Württemberg Garde Corps to paint. And I also have the Irish that we're going to be continuing with. Those of you who missed last week, I asked people if they wanted me to do the Irish or the, well, it was either the Grenadier, it was either the Foot Guard or the Mounted Guard for the Württembergers. I can't remember which one it was. But the Irish one anyway, so we're going to crack on with those. It's a little bit of an esoteric choice I've gone for, because the elite companies did not wear Busbies for the Irish Legion, but I had some front rank models with Busbies, so it turns out that mine do. There you go. I am just hooking everything up, so I'm not greeting anyone yet, so apologies for that. There we are, it's a bit better. I hope you had a nice view of my elbow there. Let me get this sorted. Turn the old volume off. There we go. Right, so we are going to start off today. We are going to do some basing. Well, I say we're going to do some basing. I'm going to dry brush the bases of these guys and their commander. Then I'm going to base 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the Irish. So that's the light company done. And then we're going to start progress on the Grenadier company, because they're the ones I've got here. Now, you can see the light company, they've got their muskets pointed forward. The Grenadiers have got them upright. I'm not normally a big fan of mixing the poses like that, so we'll see how it goes. I'll do these to start off with, and then I'll come back to the Grenadiers. I may end up doing the front rank advancing, and then repainting these two as Grenadiers or something like that. I haven't quite decided yet. So, welcome to the live stream. Let me get to the questions at last. I saw there was one already. Hello, Bub Creature. Hello, Glenn Wilson. Hello, Mike Welsh. Obverse, good evening to yourself. Bub Creature has asked, I have a question. What exactly did Hesse and Darmstadt actually do in the Napoleonic Wars? Olafson, oh yeah, no, that's I'm glad you like the elbow. Auspicious timing. Hello, Andreas. Good to see you. Same with Würzburg. I'm going to be absolutely honest with you. I don't really know. They were members of the Confederation of the Rhine, so they didn't quite have enough of an army to raise their own regiments. So what they ended up doing is amalgamating them. Well, they had their own regiments. They didn't have their own brigades or divisions. So that's where that comes from. So I'm going to pop the Irish out of the way for now. And I'm going to start on these guys. Now, I've just popped this base here as well. I'm going to be a little bit naughty, and I'm going to do some non-Napoleonic painting for that as well. So I hope you'll forgive me. But, yeah, but there it is. So I'm going to pop these out of the way for now. I've opened up a Mournfang Brown. This is the brown I use for my base coating. I'm going to use this brush here. Now, we're going to be basing this guy here first. He is an absolutely gorgeous model. He's covered in dust. Now, he was painted for me by a very, very good friend of mine, James Lamin, from the Triple Crown Wargaming channel. They do a lot of Warhammer Fantasy, and he painted this for me as my birthday present for last year, so that was very nice of him. And I finally got round to getting it based, so we'll do that now. So I'm going to just go on to my tray of goodies. I've also been printing a lot of epic Dark Eldar as well, so that's what my tray of goodies is currently covered in. So here we go. So this is Napoleon at Borodino. He's got Rustrum, his servant, serving up some drinks while he looks at a map there. I think James told me that he looked at the Bologna coast, and that's what's on the map. I didn't have the heart to tell him that they hadn't invented grid squares by then, but he did such a good job at it, I couldn't bring myself to tell him. So I'm just going to start off here. I'm going to just roofle it around the drum. Roofle being a technical term. There we are. Oh, hang on. What's going on there? Go away. Yeah. I do not need Norton protection. So, just go around here. Now, with this is a lot thicker than I normally do it. When I use sand, I normally water the paint down a lot to the consistency almost of milk. And the reason I do that is because then the sand absorbs the liquid and it helps bind the sand together. Now, this is actually a sculpted base, so I don't need to do that here. So, there we go. Dan Greggy, those mixed poses will trigger my OCD. Oh, maybe I should do that then and give me every advantage I need. Certainly after the spanking I got last weekend, that is definitely required. That's all about I can find. Other than Würzburg had regiments sent to Spain. Yes, well, exactly. I mean, it was very much scraping up the men where he could find them. Now, one other thing with this model as well is I don't usually varnish models, but this one I think I definitely will be. I do not want the paint to get rubbed off it. So that's why I'm being very careful not to touch the actual figures themselves, because I don't want to risk rubbing any paint off. Although looking at Roostram's back there, you could probably have some of the dust rubbed off him. So the question I've got for you today, what brown is that, Olafson? It is Games Workshop Mornfang Brown. That's what I use for all my bases. Doing 1 hour or longer. I'm only doing 1 hour today, Andreas. I am reliably informed that a delicious dinner is going to be waiting for me at 7 o'clock. Now, let's see how that goes. But I will get in serious trouble if I'm not ready to not down there ready to not eat it at 7 o'clock. This is how I base my Very British Civil War. Yeah, that's fair enough. I'm busy painting the 28th. The reverse shaking insignia is being a pain in the rear. Yes, no, I can imagine it is. Nevin Langlinay? Yeah. Hiding in Texas heat. Yeah, no, I've heard it's really hot in Texas at the moment. I mean, you know, hotter than normal. For me, anything over 20 degrees is hot. So I don't know what that is in American. I don't know what that is in freedom temperature. But in the UK, 20 degrees is enough for me, really. In fact, it's gone quite cool now. It was very hot in June. Apparently, it was the hottest June on record. But it seems to, as it's gone into July, it's definitely cooled down a little bit, which I am more than happy with. Now, I thought I'd also make an announcement here as well, which is General Dan and I. General Dan is in the chat. General Dan is in the chat. Not General Di, he'd be Welsh. General Dan is in the chat, so I feel comfortable making this announcement. Next year, so March next year, General Dan and I will be packing our bags and campaigning in the good old US of A, because we are coming to Adepticon. So anyone who's in America who fancies meeting up for a drink and a chat and a game and anything else, then I will be at Adepticon with General Dan. So I'm not going to planning on bringing any Napoleonics, mainly because it just I'm not going to have the room in my baggage. I'm going to be mostly playing Lord of the Rings and Bolt Action and what's the other one? Possibly Flames of War, possibly Malifaux. So I don't know. Grinding through. Oh, obviously he's grinding through his 28mm Jerry's for Bolt Action. Fiddly as and way too much grey. Yes. Now, what I'm planning on doing, I've just got back from Crete. Some of you may know, so I'm planning on doing some Fulsham and taking those to Adepticon with me. Although I may end up doing British Paras instead. I'm not sure. I fancy doing Paras because you don't need many of them, so I can put them in the case and I can take other stuff with me as well. Now this base here, this is for anyone who wants to do like a command base or something like that, but doesn't want to multi-base them. This is from Test of Honor. Now, there are companies that make these out of MDF as well. As you can see, it's got 3 holes in here, and I've glued sand around the edges. So I'm just having another go over that with the Mornfang Brown. This is actually, as I said earlier, not for Napoleonics. I'm being a little bit naughty. I shall show you what it's for. In fact, sorry, no, it wasn't British Paras I was thinking of taking. It was the guys that this base is for. So there you go. It shows how much I'm thinking of. So the question I've got for you today is if you have seen the latest battle report between myself and General Dan, have you ever had a defeat as heavily as I got in that battle? Have you ever looked at a game, gone on turn 1, oh yeah, this is going all right, I've got a chance here, and then by turn 2, just be like, oh god. It was an absolute spanking. Dan had some incredible dice rolls, but he had to get his troops in a position where those dice rolls made the difference. So it's all well and good saying, oh, well, he beat me because of the good dice. That's never actually true. Your opponent has to be in a position that they can capitalize on those good dice rolls, or even get to roll those dice in the first place. So let me know, have you guys had as heavy a defeat as I had? Now I'm going to let this brush dry, because I'm going to use that to dry brush shortly. I'm going to dry brush over the dark brown on the Garde du Corps with this one, which is Steel Legion Drab. Now mine's mostly dried out, which to be honest, for dry brushing is not terrible. So what else I've been working on is, I shouldn't really be showing these, this is very naughty of me, but I'm excited, are some little epic scale Dark Eldar Raiders. I think they're super cool. I've not put the front gunner or the sail on yet, because I'm going to paint those separately. And the figures I'll show you in a bit when the base is dried. So now we come to the France. So we've got these guys here. Now I've painted 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the Voltigeurs. I've also painted an NCO as a Voltigeur as well. So I'm going to base these on a 6 base. I'm going to do them as a company. I thought about basing them on a 4, but I'm going to do them as a 6. Let me have a look at some of the chats here. Grinding through. Just finished an epic scale French horse artillery unit covered in paint before dinner. I am a dead. No, they're really nice, the epic stuff. Actually, I am a fan. I haven't caved too much. I've bought the Highlander and Rifles box. That's all I've done. I've also got some. I have some Russians that I've printed as well. I've got some Russians in greatcoats that I've done. So I'm going to go with this MDF base here. This one is 60 by 40. That's what I normally base on. A 20mm frontage per model. And I'm actually going to use PVA today. I usually use super glue, but I'm going to use PVA because the models are so heavy that... there we go. Sorry, the models are so heavy. I want to use the PVA just to hold them in place, and then when it comes to gluing the sand and all that stuff on, hopefully that'll all mix in, and the bit of metal, the metal tab they're stood on, won't be quite so obvious. So that's the plan. Let's see if it survives first contact with the enemy. It doesn't usually. What I may also end up doing is having these guys here at port with their muskets. I don't mind that the NCO's got his upright, that's fair enough. But I might have these guys at port and have these guys as the 1st battalion, and then have the 2nd battalion marching. Is another way I might do it. Now, I've pulled these off my painting stick, and I haven't got anything to get rid of the excess glue. Hang on, give me a second. See, I told you I wasn't very well prepared. Right, let's get these out of the way. Right. So I'll just pull these extra bits off. So they're just glued to the painting stick with PVA glue. Someone was asking on the Discord earlier on about how to spray the models. Now, some of you may know that I like to paint on the sprue. Obviously, with these models, there is no sprue. So I'll tend to glue them to a painting stick. These tweezers are terrible. I tend to paint them on a painting stick, and that means that when it comes to actually basing them, I need to cut them off the base. So there we go. I have to my entire toolbox here looking for stuff. There we are. Right. Now these, as you can see, I've undercoated these white. I didn't use Corax white. I just used, which is the Games Workshop base, undercoat spray. It's slightly off white. It's actually not bad, but I wanted to go for a whiter white on this one. It's actually more of a very light grey. So for that reason, I used Army Painter. It's just called. Sorry, I'm off the camera there, aren't I? It's just called white, and that's what I used. Oh, now these guys have been glued onto the stick for quite a while, so this glue is not coming off. Oh, there we are. I've been careful to try not to rub the models too much because I don't want to rub the paint off them. So let's get some glue. I was just going to squirt this straight onto the base, but the reason I'm not is because there's not enough room between the tabletop and the camera for me to put the PVA pot. So there we are. We get some PVA on here. Now, whichever way I'm going to do it, I may end up doing the port guys in the front rank, or as I say, I might end up doing the 1st Battalion at the ports, the 2nd Battalion at March Attack. But either way, I'm going to do like this. So for anyone who doesn't know, when I say port, that's with your musket sort of down at your hip, pointing forward. A March Attack is when you've usually got it in the crook of your arm, but either way, it's upright, and it's as you're marching up the field. Not quite ready to do the stabby stab yet. It does save you for... In fact, I'm fairly sure I read an account of a guy who tripped and someone got bayoneted in the back. There's a guy that sort of, had his musket down at the port like this, tripped, and then ended up stabbing his colleague in the back. Now, I've got this NCO. I'm going to pop the NCO at the front, actually. So I'm going to put this guy at the back. I'm moving him over. I hadn't quite considered how chunky these front rank boys are. They are chunky monkeys. So I'm going to pop them there like so. So the reason I've got the camera like this is because I wanted to look straight down on the base so you can see how I put them in. They're not directly one behind the other, which historically they probably would be, to be fair. But it's just a question of actually being able to get them on the base. Come on, glue. Out you come. Best luck in the former colonies. Wrong ocean to jump over for me. Yes, those ungrateful colonials. I don't know. Although I saw the weather in New York yesterday, and blimey, Charlie, God was clearly punishing you for that, because it looked absolutely horrendous. Apparently, 2 people got struck by lightning, which is certainly something. So there we go. Now these guys are going to be a bit too staggered for my my real preference, but never mind. There we go. And then last but not least, the NCO. Now, I've not painted any chevrons on his sleeve, which I probably should do, but we'll pop him in there for now. That's a detail I can always go back and do later, although if I'm being honest with myself, I almost certainly won't. But there you go. So what I'm just doing now is I'm just gently folding the glue that's splurged out from the side of the bases, just folding it over onto the top, and that's just going to help glue them in place a little bit more. Having them looking at me now, I'm going to move them over slightly, just so they're a little less cramped. There we go. So that is, oh, there we go. So there we go. That is the light company of La Légion Islandaise. Fantastique. Right, so that's that one done. Let me get that out of the way. Let me put the thing back on these crappy tweezers and put them away. They were absolutely useless. Thank you for that. Right, so let's move back on up. Though, let's have a quick check at the comments. Let me move that over there. Turn 3. Yeah, fair enough. It was an atrocious game of BattleTech. Oh, right, okay. They've started playing BattleTech at the club. Actually, it seems to be very popular. Is there? I think there's. Oh, sorry. I think there's a new edition of it or something, isn't there? It certainly seems to be the game du jour at the moment. Now, these guys I've done as grenadiers. These guys have got shakos on, so I'm inclined to do these guys as a light company again, perhaps for the next battalion. Either way, I haven't quite decided yet, but whatever I do with them, they are going to have green coats and yellow facing, so we can crack on with that while we are considering. So I'm going to get the yellow out first, because that's the lighter of the two colours. So if I get it onto the sleeve by mistake, which I almost certainly will, then the green will cover it, and it's not necessarily the end of the world. I caved and bought some partisans to turn into Spanish Republicans. Very good. Almost threw the dice and the army into the trash. I have done that. So I was playing in a tournament in Portsmouth on the south coast, and I was using vampire counts. So I was playing against a guy called Throg, who is the Troll King, and he is absolutely nails. He is hard as, like, so there's no beating him in combat really. But I managed to get round the flank in a position that my Manfred von Karstein could cast Purple Sun, which was I think it was a small one I did. He was in a unit of 18 trolls, and basically every troll in that unit needed to roll a 1 or they were dead, just removed from the table, dead. So I was like, cool. So I cast the spell, got it off an irresistible force. So my opponent didn't even have the chance to dispel it. So I was like, well, you know what? Okay, something horrible could happen to my character, but I think it's going to be well worth it. So I rolled the dice to see how far it went. I rolled a misfire, which meant that it landed on his head. So I was like, oh, right, okay. Well, he's in his unit of knights, so it's not necessarily the end of the world. On a 2+, they barge him out of the way and he's okay. So I rolled a 1, obviously. And then I was like, oh, right, okay. Now, the reason the trolls needed to roll just a 1 to stay alive was because you have to roll equal to or under your initiative, and their initiative 1. So it was like, oh, right, okay. Well, Manfred von Karstein's initiative 6. So I'm like, right, okay. So basically 1 to 5, and I'm good to go. Yeah, no, it rolled a 6. So my general died. And because I was vampires, like half of my army crumbled as well. So after that game, I very calmly packed all the dice away, packed them in my dice pot, walked out to the car park and hurled them as far as I could. It was very, very cathartic. In a Peninsula war game I had many years ago, my French ended up surrounded and had to surrender. Oh dear. Well, at least they weren't surrounded by Spanish, really. It wasn't... the name of the battle escapes me currently. It wasn't... you know the one. The one where the one battle that the Spanish won. It's been a long day. I keep wanting to say Maida, but that's not right. That's in Italy. Sorry, Spanish. I'm not giving you even the slightest credit you deserve here, am I? I had a large-scale X-Wing game years and years ago where a reserve got round my side and rolled up my flank by turn 3. Ugh. I had that in a game of Art de la Guerre, and that was very upsetting. Yeah, I feel your pain on that one. Basically, I had to put my entire Free Wills League company against my friend Clan Wolfstar and got obliterated by turn 4. Oh dear. Yes, that's not what you like to see. So I'm just doing the yellow at the moment. I'm going to pop those out of the way because I keep knocking them with the painting stick. So I'm starting off with the collars. I'm doing the most difficult bit first. And then they've got little turnbacks here as well. I'm going to need a very fine brush to get in the gap between the turnback and the strap there. So there we go for them. I'm sunk too deep into 50mm to buy it onto Epic. No, fair enough. Yeah. I'm sunk too deep into Epic Battles Pike and Shot. Yeah, that looks quite cool actually. I've not really looked at that yet, but it does look good. There's a Discord. There is a Discord. It's not the well, I say it's not the world's most active. It is pretty active actually, but that's nothing to do with me because I'm not on it anywhere near as often as I should be. But yes, now there is a Discord. It is available to channel members, which is why I should really be a lot more active on it than I am. But yeah, if you join the channel, then you get the permalink, and then you can unjoin the channel. And I'm not going to kick you out of Discord or anything like that. Once you're in, you're in. Yes, yesterday was a thunderous day. Yeah, absolutely was. That is the Irish Regiment, Martin. Yes, it is. No, says Nevin. I did not follow my own advice about holding back my cavalry. Aside from the hideous dice rolling rules, which essentially produce units that virtually cannot miss. Tactics for that. Yes, no, it is very, very difficult. Because the British have to overrun, you've got a little bit of possibility there that you can charge them in the flank, perhaps. But yeah, you absolutely 100% need to stop them charging you, because then they don't get the +1 to hit, and then they don't get the rerolls either. It's only when they charge that they get the rerolls. So if you can find a way of hitting them at the halt, then yeah, that's basic. Yeah, yes, they are insanely good. Far too good in my opinion. I've mentioned it in videos before. I think in the killiest unit, I think the British came out as #1. In fact, I'm fairly sure the British cavalry came out as #1. Because, as you say, they've basically got, certainly if you've got 8 dice, you've certainly got seven hits. If you're hitting on 3s with a reroll, I'd be very disappointed to get any less than that. There was a new Kickstarter. Oh, is that for BattleTech, was it? Yeah, yeah. And I, like I say, down at the club, they're definitely talking about it a lot more. So I assumed it had to be something like that. We've just got into playing Epic, actually, and when they announced that the Games Workshop are making the new one. So we've been playing some Horus Heresy Epic recently. So that's taken over. Instead of Mech Warrior for me, I was more old school Epic Armageddon. So I've just got someone who's cross-strapped there. That's a bit annoying, but I'm going to try and rub that off if I can. My feed has gone down. Let's hope it comes back up. Yep, no, there it is. So this guy here, he's got his Bonnet de Police on. So he can go with pretty much any unit. He can go whether I decide to do the ones in Shakos, if I decide to do these guys as a light company as well. One thing that I am planning on doing with the Irish actually is I plan on doing quite a few officers. Now, normally you just have your command base, you have the officer on the command base, and that's it. But obviously, I've got to do Captain Byrne. I can't not do Captain Byrne, can I? I can't not do Colonel Tennant on his horse galloping over a burning bridge. So that's 2 that I've got to do. I also really want to do Colonel Lawless as well. So that's 3. So these guys are all sort of, within or outside of the unit. But also, if you've watched the videos I did on the Irish Regiment, they were hugely over-officered. So that's why I don't mind having officers in, maybe not on every base, but certainly I'll have an officer in with each elite company, or an NCO perhaps, with the elite companies, and then an office, obviously a regimental or battalion command on the command base as well. So that's the plan there. Just going back over. I'm just doing the cuffs at the moment. I hope it's on camera. It is on camera. That's good. My feed keeps dropping in and out, so I can't necessarily see what's going on. The problem is up here in the attic, I don't get very good. I get very good light, but I don't get very good Wi-Fi signal. So that's why the signal keeps dropping in and out on my laptop. Right, I'm going to have to do this last bit off camera, I'm afraid. Sorry, but I'm just doing around the back of the neck, and I need to hold the stick upright for that. So 2 minutes. Oh, 1 left to do. There we go. Right, apologies for doing that off camera. And then the last thing I need to do, I think I may also have to do this off camera as well, I'm afraid, is the backs of the cuffs. So let's do the front of the cuffs first. There we go. And then again, I'm going to have to hold this upright, so I'm just going to quickly take it off camera. It's just so I can do the bit where the cuffs meet the side of the body. There we go. Perfect. Right, so that's that done there. Yes, I have decided in the last 30 seconds that these guys are going to be the light company of the 2nd Battalion, and the 1st Battalion are going to be a march attack. So Balian, that's the one. Thank you, Dan. Balian, that's the badger. That's where the Spanish surrounded the French and made them surrender. One of my, if you've not seen my video on the Swiss, one of my favourite stories from Balen is that the Swiss managed to get away. So no, the Swiss didn't. Well, they sort of managed to get away. They weren't caught in the initial trap, and the eagle was outside of the cordon that the Spanish had made. So the Swiss started marching off with the eagle. And the Spanish were like, no, you can't march off with your eagle. You need to come back. If you don't come back, we're going to start killing everyone who we captured. And the Swiss were like, well, we're Swiss, we don't care. But yes, no, made me chuckle anyway. So, hello, Conradson. Nice to see you, buddy. I need to do some more on the Swiss. It's researching them. It's taking me quite a while for this 3rd part, though. We're getting up to when they really started getting heavily involved. There we go. Right. So that's the yellow done. So happy with that. What time are we on? 6:30. So cool. Still only halfway through. Fantastic. It was a British. Yeah. No, okay. It's better to be surrounded and defeated by the British than it is the Spanish. That's fair enough. I'll give you that one. The Quiet Man just subscribed. Hello, The Quiet Man, a new subscriber. I enjoy your mini painting videos. What unit are you painting? I play Napoleon's battles in 28mm. I'm currently painting the Irish Legion. I've just finished a series of, I want to say, 4 videos on the Irish. I finished that about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago. So I'm just, I've been inspired by that series to paint up 2 battalions of them. I don't know why, because we only ever play in Spain, and the, actually, no, well, the Irish were in Spain, weren't they? Or one of the battalions was, anyway. So, I was thinking today as well, what happened to the 1813 supplement that was revealed to us last year? I mean, we're in July now. It's the 7th month of the year, and there's been absolutely nothing mentioned about it at all. So, I mean, is it going to be a Christmas release? Is it going to be... it's certainly not going to be a summer release anymore, is it? Is it going to be an autumn release? And Christ knows, I've got no idea what's going on with that. But for anyone from Warlords watching and you want to tip me the wink, then please do. As you will know from my Victrix review last week, I'm always very complimentary about about absolutely everything. Yeah. But no, seriously, Warlord announced a new supplement for the War of 1813, and there's been absolutely nothing since, which for me is not really on. That's it's pretty poor. I mean, even if it was just leaks from the book, upcoming, this is what's going to be in the book and stuff like that, that'd be something. But to just have complete radio silence is, well, I mean, what's the point in announcing it? Why announce something and then say nothing more about it for the next 8 months? This makes no sense to me. I mean, I like that Warlord is a little bit amateurish like this, but it's pretty embarrassing, really, when they, I don't think they think of themselves as being amateurish, but it certainly comes across that way. I think they prepared enough Irish officers staff for a quantity of troops that never materialised. Yeah, no, I think you're probably right, to be fair. Richie, hello, Richie. I personally don't think British cavalry are that good, especially 1815 era. In the Peninsula, British players always use disproportionate amounts of cavalry to what is really available. Yeah, that's true, actually. I mean, basically what you're saying there, Richie, is that Dan cheated, and I completely agree. But no, I mean, it's difficult because the British are very strong with their cavalry. When they're going up against things like Grenadier Cheval or Cuirassiers, Carabiniers, Polish Lancers, things like that, then then they can compete, but they're not necessarily super overpowered. But in the Peninsula, of course, they're not going against any of that stuff. They're going against dragoons, or I mean, not even hussars really. Chasseurs would be their main targets, and they just absolutely blow them out of the water. They really, really do. I mean, I've said in my video before that you shouldn't really go anywhere near British cavalry unless you are one step up from them. So if it's British light cavalry, then your light cavalry want absolutely no part of them. Your medium cavalry are the absolute bare minimum that you want to go up against them. Ideally, your heavy cavalry want to go up against them. If you're trying to fight the Blues and Royals or the Scots Greys or something like that, I got nothing, mate. You need to try and get those cannon shots in early. I think that's probably your best bet. Now, something that I didn't do in that battle is I didn't use horse artillery. Now, that could have been a bit of a difference. As is always the case, my use of artillery was very, very poor. It's difficult when you're attacking to use artillery well, I think, because you want to be blazing away, but realistically, you also want to be closing the gap. What I need to think about is I can fire at long range, which is one dice needing 5s. So that's one hit every 3 turns on average. What I really need to be doing is spending those 2 of those turns moving up, and then the 3rd turn firing. That's with 2 dice hitting on 4s. So, okay, on that turn 3, I'm still, I've got the same number of hits as I would for just firing away for 3 turns. The thing is with the artillery, though, is whenever you're firing, you've always got a chance of rolling that 6. And if you're not firing, you haven't got a chance of rolling that 6. I know it sounds silly, but is it worth fishing for the 6 and trying to get that disorder? Or is it worth bringing the artillery forward? Now, I always think it's worth fishing for the 6, but maybe that's where I'm going wrong. And if I'd had horse artillery, particularly on my right-hand flank, so on Dan's left, maybe I could have, scored a cheeky 6 and then stopped that cavalry from countercharging. That might have been, well, no, I wouldn't have been able to, would I? Because I'd have caused a 6 in my turn, and it would have come off at the end of his turn. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. I have done a video a long time ago now about having an artillery phase where the artillery fire before movement. Now, that's not uncommon, particularly in sort of older 1980s sets of rules. That was fairly routine, that artillery fired before movement. So maybe that's something that that could be a goer. It would certainly make horse artillery a lot more powerful. Some of Armand's ancestors were officers in the army of the Ancien regime. She also had an officer in the 43rd British. Nice. While reading about campaigns of different armies in Napoleonic times, I must say the British cavalry is really sad compared to the other major countries. Yeah, I mean, they're not bad. They're certainly, I mean, the horses were supposed to be very good. When Matei Platov, who was the head of the Cossacks, so when he came to Europe, obviously when the Russians took France, they came over on a state visit to London, and Platov bought a load of Irish horses to take back to the Don region with him, because they were the best horses that he'd come across. So, I mean, he was the head of the Cossacks. He's a man who probably knows knows his horses, I would have thought. And he considered the Irish horses to be the best in Europe. So, what he says in Waterloo? The British cavalry, they are the noblest, or the finest, I don't know, yeah, I think it's noblest. They are the noblest cavalry in Europe and the worst led, which is probably not entirely true, but it's a good line. Who needs 1813 when you have 18? Well, you know what, Lucas? I've been saying that for years, mate. The next supplement, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, the fact that they're doing 18, I was pretty annoyed they were doing 1813 anyway. But I put a poll out, and the vast majority of people were really happy with it being 1813. So I'm like, well, that shows what I know. But yeah, no, 1805, 1806, 1808, 1809, all of those I would, I mean, the Egyptian campaign I'd prefer over 1813. But, you know, you've got to go with what sells, I suppose. And that did seem to be very popular. So just shows what I know. But yeah, 1809. 1809 is the one for me. So that's all the green done. I really like the dark green against the I really like the dark green against the white and the yellow. I think it looks really, really good. Now I've got quite a large brush here, so I'm switching out to a smaller brush if I can find one, which is probably easier said than done. Hang on, what have I got here? No, hang on. Oh, here we go. Here's a 001 from Windsor and Newton. This is a nice small one. First time I've used this one as well. In the case of Dragoons, I think that using them almost exclusively as heavy cav was a big mistake on the side of the Brits. Fair enough. Yep. I mean, they had plenty of light cavalry, so they probably didn't need the heavy Dragoons to be Dragoons. In fact, I'm not sure they actually were Dragoons. I think they were just given that title to placate them. British horseflesh made a genuine difference. Everyone else's blood stock was degraded after years of war. Yeah, no, that's fair. We stopped shooting and moved phase around, and black powder works for us. Okay, so it's an idea that I mean, well, nothing's original. I didn't think for a second it would be, but that's interesting. General Haig, which is an unfortunate name for someone who wants to do moving before shooting. But I take your point. It's a good point. Yeah, no, that's interesting. It's to move the whole phase round. I was just thinking of having an artillery phase. But yeah, no, that would sound interesting. Because that's going to stop that sort of 3-move leaping up the table and then blasting away at point-blank range. So, yeah, interesting. Hello, Michael Collins. All is well with me. Thank you very much. I hope it is with you as well. Imagine 1805 or 1806 epic game. Oh, mate, don't even. I'd love to do a Jena Auerstadt in any scale, but I mean, particularly in 28mm, because the Prussian army of 1806 is one of my favorite armies. It's just so cool. Terrible. I mean, absolutely terrible. But it looks awesome. It's definitely up there for one of the best looking armies, which may be something that you want to think about for this weekend's video. He said, hint, hint. I should say now as well, because I'll probably forget, there won't be a video, not this, there should be one this Sunday, but there won't be a video the Sunday after, because I am at a Warhammer tournament that day. So, I've also got some family stuff to do later on as well. So, this coming Sunday, there should be a video, Sunday the 9th, but Sunday the 16th, there'll be no video, I'm afraid. If I say it now, then it'll I can pretend that I'm not just being lazy on the day and can't be bothered to do one. So no. Seriously, I'm at an event during the day, and then in the evening we got family related stuff going on. So I'm just tucking in here between. Oh, I'm also trying to hit the camera with the paintbrush as well. Absolute pro move there. Now, I have gone over on the straps on some of these. So I am going to have to go over it with the white. Now, I didn't bring the white up with me, so I'm going to have to do that probably next week. That's the green done there. Let me check on this side. There's a little bit missing between the sort of the collar and the neck. Now, I'm going in for very French. I'm going in for an impressionist attempt here. I'm just sort of dabbing it in there. So anyone who looks in there can see a bit of green, a bit of yellow, a bit of white, and it kind of gives the impression that I've painted it properly, which I haven't. So there you go. Get that in there. And there, like so. A little bit on the front. Now, I have seen a reenactor who's got a yellow waistcoat as well. That might be a little bit much, so I'm going to stick with the white ones. Now, I also saw someone used another Games Workshop contrast, the name of which currently escapes me. Someone to do with the Death Guard, I think. It's like typhus corrosion, it might be. That doesn't sound right, but it basically made the waistcoats like a creamy colour, which is undyed wool, which looks really cool, actually. Looked really good. I can't remember what colour he said he used, though. But I'm not going to bother with that. I'm just going to leave them white. So that's the Irish. That's what we've done there. Now, I'm going to check my dry brush. Let's see if it's dried yet. Yeah, that'll do. Where's the doobie firkin? There we are. Right, so now I'm going to use some Steel Legion drab. I'm going to put the Irish aside. That's them done for today. And I'm going to grab these guys. These are, of course, the Garde du Corps. Now, they are mostly done now. All it needs doing is the flag needs finishing, then gluing on, and some of the hilts of the sabers need doing as well. Just those two bases. And I'm going to get my Steel Legion. I'm going to take the top off because it has gone really, really thick. Now, before I do this, though, I am going to just check the comments. So, let's have a look. Do you think you could compare Napoleon to a mafia don? I mean, he was big into the family, wasn't he? So you could maybe compare him to Vin Diesel. So, no. Yeah, I mean, I think there was probably some crossover there. He certainly, elevated his family members. Joseph and who's the other one? Jerome and people like that. So yeah, I mean, I guess you could. I mean, people say of was it steal a little and they'll throw you in jail, steal a lot and they'll make you king, as Bob Dylan once said. So I think you could probably argue that's what happened with Napoleon. Right, so I've got some Steel Legion drab here. I'm using a flat brush for this. A lot of people use round brushes for dry brushing, which is fair enough. Some people use makeup brushes. But I like the straight edge one like this because it gives me better control. I'm less likely to get it on hooves and feet and things like that. And what I'm doing is I'm just highlighting the base. Now, a lot of people don't do this, or you can highlight it after you've put the flock on. So this is not going to be the final base. I'm going to have some green static grass on here as well. Now, one of the reasons why I like doing it first is so I've got more control, I've got more room that I can get the dry brushing on. But if you put the tufts and the grass and all that good stuff on first, you can leave a little dark circle around the tuft. And that really helps highlight the tuft because it's against a darker background. It makes it stand out more. Good to see me stepping up my brush game. Thanks, Paul. Well, that's it. What can I say? I'm getting pro now, man. That and I'm running out of the free Games Workshop ones that I got. Actually, that's a lie. I got tons of them still. So when I was working for Games Workshop, they released a whole new paint range, and in order for us to show off the new paints to customers, they gave us I think it was 4 packs of brushes and a complete set of the paints. So obviously my staff member took a pack of brushes, I took a pack of brushes, and I'm still working my way through them through them now. Now it's a little bit thick there. I've gone on too much. Let me see if I can get that up to the camera. So between the 2 horses here, it's gone on way too thick. But that's not necessarily the end of the world, because I'll just make sure that I put a tuff there, or I'll make sure there's grass there, and I'll cover that over. Now the idea of this highlight again is it adds a little bit of texture to the base. It just stops it from looking very flat. I've got a lot of textures on the cloth. I've been using the contrast paints. Well, the last thing I want is the base to just look boring and flat, as if I've not, just glued them onto a beer mat or something like that. So that's what dry brushing helps. It just helps bring out the texture of the bases. So you don't necessarily just have to go the same way either. You can go change the direction that you're brushing. John Wayne Everett, nice to see you, buddy. Hello. Let's make sure this is mixed in. If I recall correctly, Warlord said they aren't planning to do anything Point Racer for Epic after the Waterloo stuff. No, that's true. Yeah, no, this book was for just regular black powder. Yeah, I mean the thing is with the Epic stuff, it's not necessarily the end of the world. There's a guy on, I think he is on My Mini Factory, but he might be on Wargaming 3D. And he does epic scale Napoleonics for literally everything. I've bought his Russian range. So I've got all the Russians already set out in 12mm. But he does absolutely everything. He does Young Guard, Mamelukes, obviously the Old Guard, Line, all that good stuff. But he does Austrians, Bavarians, Württembergers, all that good stuff. I mean, any of that stuff as well. You can also get the files from Lucas, or the Spanish chap whose name momentarily escapes me, which is a shame because he just stole £90 from me for his British heavy cavalry. He hasn't stolen it; he's definitely earned it. You can always get their files and just print them at 10% or 20% or whatever you want. When Jervis Johnson was interviewed about Valor and Fortitude, he said he had shoot then move to favour the defender and stop 3 moves and shoot. Well, fair enough then. Yeah, no, I mean, that makes sense. The defender should have some advantage, which is why, again, I think in the game with General Dan, one of the things I noticed by turn 3 was I had absolutely no reserve at all. So we sort of talked about it after the game, and I think the French needed probably half as many units again as I had to make it more of a battle. I think that was one of the problems there, was that we used roughly equal forces, and we probably shouldn't have done. I should probably have had more French, which would have been historically accurate as well. The French armies tended to outnumber the British. I've gone on a bit heavy with the dry brush on this base here, so I'll just try and wipe some off. I'm currently painting 2 French corps from 1812. I've already finished the Bavarian corps. Blimey, Charlie. I like the random edition of a Croatian and Portugal unit in it. When I was first reading about the Croatians, and I was like, who the hell are the Croats? It took me absolutely ages to work out that they were supposed to be Croats. I don't know why. I just had an absolute brain fart. But I was like, who the hell are the Croats? They sound like some sort of lizard people or something. But no, that was me being an absolute moron. So yes, I often if I read Croats, I often read it as Croats now, just because it amuses me. Because I'm stupid. So I'm just rattling that in there. You see, get it in around the hooves. Again, if you get a little bit on the hooves, it doesn't matter too much, because it just looks like they've got muddy hooves. But you don't want to do it. You don't want to go overboard, because then it looks like you've got loads of paint on the hoof as you were trying to dry brush. So it's a it's a balancing act. try and be as neat as you can. But if you get the odd splash on there, it's not necessarily the end of the world. And here we go. Now, this is actually going to be the first unit of my Württemberg army that I have properly based. So there's something of the... I need to decide if I'm going to use the yellow grass that I often use. That's supposed to be sort of like summer straw, or the green. I'm probably going to use the green, if I'm honest. Or do I use tufts, or do I use static grass? I'm not entirely sure yet. But just whatever I use, this is the basis of what I'm going to put it on top of. So that's why I can slap this on now, and then worry about that a bit later. I do like dry brushing. It's very soothing. It's very therapeutic. I don't get to use it that much on Napoleonic figures, so when I do get to use it, I do very much enjoy it. So what we're doing time? I've got 5 minutes left before I get in trouble. I can smell it as well. It smells good. So let's get these done here. Right, I'm going to quickly jump ahead. I'm going to do Napoleon, and it is Roostrum, not Ali. Someone asked earlier on. I believe it's Roostrum anyway. I could be wrong. So, but there we go. You can see that this base has got sculpted on detail. It's absolutely lovely. So I'm going to do this. Now with this, I am 100% going to use tufts. The tufts are much better. They're obviously a bit more expensive, but they do tend to look a lot better. So with it being the big man himself, and with James doing such a fantastic paint job on him, I wouldn't want to do anything other than the absolute best for him. So there we are, moving around. As you can see, I'm not using my fingers. Your fingers can be quite greasy, and it's the grease that helps rub the paint off. So try not to touch it with my fingers. There we go. Until he's varnished anyway. So that's the big man himself. Let me do the General de Brigade. Now, as I said before, this guy's not necessarily a real guy, but I will be doing like a lifeguard or a household cavalry brigade, because I've got the mounted grenadiers as well, and this is going to be the commander of that brigade. So it's probably a little ahistorical, but we can just say that he's the colonel of the Garde du Corps, and that's why he's giving the orders to that brigade. He doesn't necessarily have to be a brigade commander. Right, so what else we got? 2 French corps plus Bavaria. That's a lot of dudes. Talking about video schedule, how are you looking for Wednesdays? Still on everyone. I mean, that's the plan at the moment. Let me see. Do I have any holidays or anything coming up? Not that I can think of. So I am planning on doing every Wednesday at 6 British summertime. What I might do is towards the end of August, maybe the last 2 weeks of August. I usually have the whole of August off, but I might just have 2 weeks off this August, and then go into September. October is going to be quite a heavy month. I've got quite a lot to do for October still, so I don't want to give that away yet. But October tends to be the theme month. So the first time I did a theme month, we did the Russian Guard. Then the last one, I did the War of 1812. I might have done the Ottomans, actually, was the one before that. Then it was the War of 1812. And I've got a theme for this one as well. My understanding is that Epic Battles from Planets hasn't done very well. It explains why we haven't got anything. Yeah, I can... it seemed a strange one to me. I've not heard that it hasn't done very well, but I can believe that it hasn't done very well, if that makes sense. So I've not seen any figures, or I've not heard much about it, but it seems a strange one. Let's put it that way. Well, it hasn't done well because Waterloo don't want to do anything beyond Waterloo. That's true to an extent. I did a couple of videos on why Waterloo. I did one video on why Waterloo is the worst thing to happen to Napoleonic Wargaming. And I also did a video on why it's the best thing to happen to Napoleonic Wargaming. And I still have a real love-hate relationship with Waterloo. On the 18th of June, I released my 5 reasons that Napoleon lost the Battle of Waterloo. And it has been by far my most popular video in years. And that's because it's, you know, it's got the Hollywood. It's got Hollywood. It's about Waterloo. You know, when I think of how many views that's had in, you know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it's probably had more than all 4 parts of the Irish Legion combined. And the Irish Legion took me maybe 2 years to research, whereas the 5 reasons Napoleon lost Waterloo was, I mean, it wasn't off the cuff, but it probably could have been. So yeah, it's difficult, but that is the power of Waterloo. That's the thing that, particularly in Britain, people are interested in. I think it's a real shame because I think you're missing out on not only the really cool parts of the Napoleonic Wars, but you're missing out on Napoleon because he was so poor at Waterloo. You know, if you were to say this guy's a military genius and all you know about him is Waterloo, I mean, okay, is he? Would be a reasonable response to that. But when you find out about him on the Pratzen Heights, or when he, pinned the enemy at Jena, or when he pinned them at Friedland, when you think about these great strategic, then tactical victories that Napoleon did, and then you compare that with Waterloo, he is but a shadow of his former self. So it's a shame. I think it's a shame, but it's where the money and the popularity is. So I can understand why a company like Warlord would go for that. I'm surprised. The thing that surprises me actually is that the first Albion Triumphant book they did was the Peninsula and not Waterloo. So, you know, part of me thinks, well, let's be grateful for Small Mercies that they've even done a book like Clash of Eagles. But the thing is, they announced they were doing the 1813 book. It's not as if I'm demanding it and they've got no intention of doing it. They told us all that they were doing it. So, I don't know. Okay. Right. So, let's see. You got me confused. 5th June, you're 1 month behind. Sorry, yeah, I am 1 month behind. I'm also a day behind. My watch says the 4th, so something I've done with the right. Where are we? Let me. I'm gonna have to knock it on the head there, I'm afraid, guys. I've just got the Gypsies warning. So let me quickly go through the comments here. Did I get discount on figures while working at Games Workshop? Yes, I did. I got 50% off, which no. Well, yes and no. Yes, I got discount, but that didn't mean I saved 50%. It meant I bought twice as much, as my Vostroyan army will attest. I've got an absolutely humongous Vostroyan Imperial Guard army. It's probably got about 180 infantry in it, 10 Lehman Russ. It's got a Chimera for every squad. It's sickening the amount of Vostroyans I've got. I just bought some Artis Opus dry brushes. I'm damn near scared. Yeah, I have that problem as well. Yeah, see, lizard people supporting Napoleon. I was looking at some Silver Bayonet today. Actually, I might look at that towards Halloween time. The fact it's the Mole People Royal Dragoons. What's the idea? I use green as yellow. May clash with jackets. Okay. Was that yellow for the facings? I mean, it's the uniforms they had. Oh, well, what can I say, man? I do Napoleonic Wargaming. Of course, I live in the past, Andreas. Sharp. That is probably why. Hello, Doug. I'm not. We're about to go. I'm afraid, Doug. I know. It's nothing personal, bro. Hello from Maryland. I quite fancy going to Maryland. The only thing I really know about Maryland is from The Wire, and we've talked about this before, haven't we? And Fallout 3. There they had the DLC that was in Maryland. That was my favourite DLC actually. That was a really good one. Although Blood Money is very good. I think that's Fallout 4. I think though. So that is it for today. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm just quickly before I go, I'm going to show you what I've done this Test of Honor base for. It's absolutely nothing to do with Napoleonics, so I would apologise in advance, but I'm not going to apologise because it's cool. So this is yet another Kickstarter that I found myself backing. The Sons of Yamato. And it is in fact my artillery observer for the Japanese army. So that's let's get that in there. Oh, I knew that was going to happen. So we've got the officer with his scissor scope and his katana, and then we've got the I'm not sure what he is actually. He's got a tab on his measuring rod though. So there we go. Let's get rid of that. And then we've got the other guy here. So they're a lovely set of models. They are going to be in my Japanese army, which is also the one that I might take to Adepticon. It'll either be full Shumyaga or Japanese. I'm not quite decided yet. But anyway, the static grass. Oh, okay, Paul. No, that's great. Okay, well, that's it, guys. I'm going to have to knock it on the head there. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm going to I'm going to retitle this video, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you very much. Next Wednesday at 6 o'clock British Summer Time, but there should be a video this Sunday, usual time 6:15, and I'll see you guys then. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at this little Japanese dog I've printed as well, the Doge. So thank you very much, guys, and I'll see you all next time.